Recumbent riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laidback Bike Report. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's so nice to have you with us today. We have a wonderful shows lined up for you today. Let me tell you a little bit about it. From HPRA, the racing organization, we have Mike Mowett and Warren Beauchamp with us today. We, in our second segment, are going to talk with Mark Egeland from Catrike, and we're going to do a Ask Me Anything session with Mark. So if you have some questions about Catrike or any of the Catrikes that you may already own or are considering owning, put those questions into the live chat and we will be happy to bring them up with Mark. And finally, our pal Larry Varney is with us today. He has recently done a review of Recycled Recumbent's Mach 2 long wheelbase bike. And also has had little experience now with the new Rambler from TerraTrike. So he's going to talk to you guys about that as well. So we look forward to talking to everybody here in a few minutes. First of all, we cannot do this show without the amazing crew and backup crew that we have. That's okay. Bring them on in, Denny. You're good. Let's bring everybody up here so we can introduce everybody that's with us with the crew today. And I think we got 6 of us.
Dave, sorry, I got...
Don't forget Doug.
Yeah, there's Doug. There's Doug.
So, by the way, folks, so that's, you hear Denny talking over there. Denny
feeling left out.
Very kindly stepped in. We've had a couple of folks.
I don't know what I stepped in. Yeah.
Well, what you have stepped into is...
You cleaned that off your shoe yet?
Right. He stepped into the directorial duties. So
duty. Yeah, duty.
As a lesson, folks, try not to step into any duties. But anyways, Denny, thank you so much for doing that today. It's great to have you with us from Sayre, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And it's great to be here. It's my duty.
I know it's confusing. And down in Jackson, Mississippi, we have our media dude. It is Trey Burgoyne. Hey, Trey.
Howdy. Good to be here.
Let's see. Let's head on over to Alfred Station, New York, where you'll find the Bicycle Man. It is Peter Stoll. Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Glad you could be with us today. And jumping across and down a bit to Dallas, Texas, it's Doug Davis. Hello, Doug.
I'm always stepping in it.
You are. Well, Mr. Wizard, you can probably make it disappear as well. And thanks for being with us, Doug. And, of course, down in Cold Spring, Kentucky, it is the bearded wonder, Larry Varney. Hello, Larry.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, you did choose a nice background there. That's
Smoky Mountains.
Very nice. All right, Denny, if you want to put everybody backstage, and I will continue here by talking about our live chat. We are always excited to have you guys participate in live chat, either on Facebook or here on YouTube. And if you would I'm getting a little busy.
Here we go. Sorry.
Just single shot me. Just single shot me.
There
we go. Good. So if you would, leave yourselves. No, don't leave yourself. You don't even want to leave me. Put on the live chat where you're watching from. And like I said, if you have questions or comments to make, please avail yourself of that. Now, how can you support the Laidback Bike Report? Well, you can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you can, click on that little white eye up there. You'll find more information. It'll take you right to our website, the laidbackbikereport.com. And Patreon is a place where you can really help us out by pledging as little as $1 a month. So please do that if you are able to. So with that, I think we're going to talk about the amazing sponsors of the Laidback Bike Report, starting with TerraCycle. And TerraTrike is TerraTrike, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent. And Trailside.bike, a fine recumbent bike shop on the Withlacoochee Trail in Florida. And Cruise Bike, designed for the cyclist who wants to ride farther, climb faster, and adventure more. All cruise bikes and frame sets ship free in the USA. And TerraTrike. Every participant in TerraTrike's virtual Rider Fest will receive an entry into a raffle for a new TerraTrike of their choice, including the much anticipated TerraTrike Spider and GTS. The drawing will take place live June 28th, right here on the Laidback Bike Report. So ride what you like, but get out and ride. Look for details on the TerraTrike website at TerraTrike.com/RiderFest or on the TerraTrike Facebook page. And the Hostel Shop, America's premier recumbent dealer with the largest variety of recumbents, parts, and accessories in stock and ready to ship to your door. All right, guys. So let's jump right into the show with our first segment on HPRA. And with me today are Mike Mowett and Warren Beauchamp. Guys, how you doing today?
Good.
Mike, go ahead and unmute yourself, Mike, so we can hear you. It's on the screen there. You'll see it.
I decided to be laid back on the Laidback Report.
Yes, and you are. You're looking pretty laid back.
Pretty laid back.
So, yeah, I always put my chair forward because if I get too laid back, by the time the show's like into an hour or so, I start drifting. So, anyways, let's talk a little bit about what you guys have been a part of. The organization HPRA, first of all. Mike, if you would, let's start out with that. What is the HPRA?
Hi, Gary. Yeah, the HPRA stands for Human Powered Race America. And basically, it's a Midwest organization it's all volunteers. And we race anywhere from 3 to 4 to up to 6 events per year in the Midwest United States. There's been various groups, not always known as the HPRA, but since about the mid 1980s, I started in 1988 as a 14-year-old, and my first bike race was here in Michigan. So HPRA once again stands for Human Powered Race America. We're a bunch of Midwest folks who like to get together and race, and it's mainly fun. It's mainly social. And there's no big cash money or prizes or anything, but
don't let that stop you.
Right.
Clearly, this guy is real happy about being. This was, I believe, from Nashville. So here's Mike, and then go to that next slide, Trey. We have one of Warren from a little ways back as well, showing these guys and what they do on the track. So there's a couple of good examples.
Go fast face.
And that, yeah, we couldn't decide if it was like the world's biggest smile or some sort of grimace from pain.
You grimace.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go on back to the multi-shot of the three of us, if you could, Denny. And we're going to continue then with Warren. Warren, tell us about the nature of the HPRA and what people might expect if they participate.
Sure. It's a very laid back organization. Typically, you come in the morning, sign in, and then you can take some laps around the track. I mean, it's open to anybody. So no matter what kind of bike you have, it can be, a comfort recumbent. It can be, a spaceship, as long as it's human powered, or you can even bring your upright bike. And everybody's very friendly. You can ask people questions. Sometimes you can even ride other people's bikes. It's a very laid back organization. So eventually we get started. And there's several races, several types of races that we do, which I think we're going to talk about a little later.
Very good. So now, if you're just an average, ordinary recumbent rider, you got a trike or a recumbent bike, why would you be interested in doing this? Who are you looking for to do these races?
Anybody. I mean, it's a chance to get out and talk to people that are similar, have similar interests, and and to see how fast you can go. It's just kind of a fun day. It's like a get together and just have fun kind of day.
Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit about the racing and how this sort of racing differs from something that we often talk about on this show, which is more ultra racing, road racing kinds of things. Tell us what the courses look like when you're racing like this, and what open versus closed.
We do all our races on closed courses for insurance purposes. Closed course means there's no automobile traffic. So we've sought out parking lot courses. We've actually rent this one track that's Waterford Hills. That's 1.4 miles around, 9 turns, 1 small hill. We've done half-mile automotive ovals, but a lot of our racing has been on velodromes. Yeah, that's the Waterford Hills Raceway. So we have a large infield area where we can camp, and people camp overnight. That's the main start-finish line. You can see the hill in the background. It gets to be a little bit tiring climbing the hill, sometimes 19, 20 times in 1 hour, but it's a lot of fun.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. So let's go ahead and go through some of the venues, Mike, if you could, or Mike and Warren, you guys can chime in together. So Waterford Hills was the first one you talked about, and we have a few shots of those. Go ahead and talk about some of the others.
Sure. This is a picture of the Northbrook Velodrome here. We do some of our races on what's termed as a road course, and some of them are on velodromes. Typically in June or July, we do 2 races on velodromes. One is the Northbrook Velodrome, which is a large 383 meter velodrome with kind of a mildly steep corner. And it's good for pretty much any kind of bike. Trikes can go on it too. And it's very fast and a lot of fun. And it's a good way to figure out how fast you can go without any stops or anything. The Kenosha Velodrome is a little smaller, and the banks are a lot higher. So if you're not up to speed on a trike, you're going to be leaned way over on the corners. But doesn't seem to stop a lot of people. They still do it, and equally as fun. It's been recently repaved, so it's a lot better.
That looks beautiful. And there's the infield, right, that Mike was talking about too. And the tents, we're going to talk about how that's all set up here in a little bit. All right. So there were at least a few other venues that HPRA have raced at over the years. Can you talk about those? There's Florida, Major Taylor, and the races in Ohio. Talk about those, would you?
Yeah, we used to race at the Major Taylor Velodrome in Indianapolis, but that's since been taken over by Marion University, and they use it almost exclusively for their college team and other college teams. And we also raced down at Brian Piccolo Park in Pembroke Pines, Florida, just outside of Miami. That used to be a great wintertime getaway for. Actually, we had more people from the Midwest going down to that event in Florida than probably people from Florida themselves there. So we need an organizer to step in and probably restart that event. We've had other events that have only been like a 1-year thing at different times. Like if somebody managed to get like a 3rd mile raceway track oval out there, and they say, hey, I want to have an event. We've had like some events like that over the years.
Yeah, we had one that was in conjunction with the recumbent what is that thing?
You're talking about CycleCon.
Yeah, recumbent CycleCon, right down south in, was that Kentucky?
It was in Nashville, actually.
Nashville.
Right.
We had that 1 year. That was fun, although very cold. And we did it one down in
we did
Georgia.
Grundy Speedway, No, that was in
Speedway, right? That was fun. Yeah.
All right, let's so BJ is asking about classes by age groups or type, and we're going to get into that. BJ, I didn't want you to think I'm ignoring you. We have a section of this interview that's going to talk about that, so just kind of stand by. Ed asked about progressive banking on the steep turns for trikes. I'm guessing he's saying like, what's the situation? So like, so many of our viewers do ride trikes, and maybe they'd be interested in doing something like that. What might they expect if they're racing on a trike on a velodrome course like that, and you have those steep banks? What do you need to make sure that you do to be able to race properly?
Well, on the Northbrook Velodrome, it's you don't have to do much of anything. You know, if you're going slow, you're going to be feeling like you're leaning to one side a little bit. On the Kenosha one, on the other hand, you're going to want to be going at least 20 miles an hour around that corner, or else you're going to feel a lot of pressure to be pushed down the hill. You're not going to fall over, but you're going to have a lot of pressure. Now, the one in Florida, we raced on a velodrome in Florida, and that one was even steeper. So that one you really had to be going fast on a trike to make it around. And we did have a lot of trike racers that did that, but mostly they raced on the inner
200 circle, which was kind of flat on the infield.
All right, Peter Stahl has a question. Let me bring Peter up because I know he has a personal connection to this. Peter, go ahead and ask. Sorry, I caught you in mid-chew there. Ask about, I know you were here in Ohio. Tell us, or ask the question and tell us what that was about.
Well, I think the most fun I've ever had in a bike race was at the go-kart track near Columbus.
Yeah, right.
Oh, gosh, that was fun. 10 hairpins in a mile, and pavement was beautiful. It was really fun.
I remember crashing on that more than once in the Streamliner.
Oh, well. Ooh, that would be tough, yeah.
But yeah, not really made for Streamliner, but for regular recumbents, it's a ton of fun to do the go-kart tracks.
All right. Thank you, Peter. We will let you chew again. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to talk more specifically about the experience at one of these races. So, Mike, when you first come to the race, of course, like any other bicycle event that I'm sure our viewers are familiar with, they're going to have to start at registration, right? So tell us about this process.
Right. As Warren said, we usually do like registration in the morning, like 9:30. We have a saying called HPV time, and that means we're usually an hour behind any scheduled time. Things tend to slow down or get backed up, but people go through registration. They pay their money. They bring their bikes or trikes, and usually they need to tell us what category they're going to be competing in for the day. If they have a stock bike, meaning basically two-wheeled recumbent, we'll give them a race number based on what category that they're in, and then we'll also give them a electronic transponder which they can take back and put on their bike, and that clocks the laps for them and gives us like real-time race results. Registration fees are somewhere around maybe $20-$25 for one day, or $40 for the weekend. Then we have a tech inspector, which will take a look at the person's bike, make sure that they have two working brakes, make sure they have mirrors on both sides that they can see to the rear of them. We have to check the helmet for any modifications. Basically, you're not allowed to cut off the brow of your helmet if you think it's going to make you go faster or something, which some people have tried, but the helmet has to remain intact for insurance purposes. Just basic stuff. We don't want you to get hurt. We don't want the vehicle to have any sharp edges.
Right. Yeah. It's a big big thing for HPRA. We've been racing for 25 years, about 25 years. And there've been no major, accidents that we've had. People have had some road rash here and there, but it's been very, very safe. So we're very proud of our record there.
Good. Yeah, and that safety check, or what my European friends for their races call scrutineering, which I think is a great name for it. The tech inspection, obviously very important for safety. So, all right. So that you show up, you register, you sign a waiver, you get the tech inspection. Now you want to know about how the race itself is going to work. So people are going to be doing some racing and getting timed. You talked about transponder. Tell us a little bit more about that. How is timing done? Which one of you guys? Warren, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So there's two basic ways we do the timing, and it depends on what type of race it is. So we've got lap races where everyone gets on the track at once. That's, we usually have like one race that's for the streamlined classes and one race that's for the non-streamlined classes, like women and stock, which is men, and so everyone.
Well, we'll go through the classes and such, but yeah, but in terms of like the technology and how it's set up, can you kind of give us a little clue?
For the lap races, we have transponders, which is a little box that attaches onto your bike, and every time you go around the track, you go over these wires, and it records exactly when you go across. And so that way we can track exactly how fast you're going and who won. So that was always a fun time before we had the timing system. We used to have people up in the stands that would keep track of everyone going around. And, if you talked or something, sometimes you'd miss a bike. And so that was always a lot of fun. But this is very accurate, and, we can get statistics posted up to the web very quickly, and so it works real well. The other races are lap or sprint races, and so that's individually timed, and we have a timing system that has a pressure tape that goes across the track, so we can time exactly how long it takes for you to go a lap or 200 meters in the case of that type of race. So,
Warren's built some of these systems too, and you built the pressure tape switch system, which is really good and accurate, and the other transponder system costs about $10,000, and we lend that from one race director to the next race director after each event, and Warren also manages to take care of the replacement of the transponder batteries, which we used to send all the way out to Australia, right, Warren, for some of that. Yeah.
There's one guy in the world that will replace the batteries in these transponders, because I mean the AMB, the company that made it, really, they wanted you to just buy new ones when the old ones went bad, and they really didn't want to keep the system around that bad because they keep on coming out with new ones. So we probably have one of the oldest timing systems, AMB timing systems.
So as long as the guy's still there making batteries for you, you can keep it.
Yeah,
keep it
as long as nothing breaks,
All right. Now, so you've talked about then the time trials and the mass start lap races and the sprint events. Now, there's also something called the hill climb coast down.
Yeah.
Now that's not timed, really, is it? That's different.
Oh, yeah.
Is it timed? So tell me about that, because that intrigues me.
Well, basically, like we have, I think it's actually a 28-foot tall hill at the Waterford Race Course where we hold this event. So we start at the bottom of the hill. People go one by one up the hill. It takes about 1/8 of a mile distance to climb that 28 feet. So, like myself, I've crested that hill doing like 25 miles per hour on my lighter weight recumbent. Now what happens at the top of the hill is you stop pedaling and you coast from that point as far as you can coast until you can no longer balance, or you're gonna fall over. Then once you stop at that point, whether it's half mile down the hill or 3/4 of a mile or even a full mile, as some of the streamliners have gone, you get off your vehicle and you mark a chalk line on the track, because we give you a piece of chalk as well. You write down your race number, and then on the track, like from where your front wheel stopped, then someone comes around later and tabulates all the results to see who coasted the furthest. So it's a really interesting event because the lighter weight vehicles can get up the track, get up the hill,
get time quicker to the top of the hill.
Yeah, but the full streamliners, like you see Warren's in the rear of just behind him. You know, he may coast over a mile, whereas someone like me might make it down to the maybe like 0.4 of a mile and make it around. There's a slight incline where it kind of catches everyone at some of the slower bikes get caught at the first incline, but yeah, it's a unique event. I don't think anyone else is running that type of event. I know there's some hill climb only competitions in other parts of the world, like over in Europe at the Worlds. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's an interesting event. All right. So we've had a few questions already. People want to know about the racing classes. So we need to talk about that. Warren, I think this is all you here. Talk about these different classes of people that race and bikes that race.
Sure. So there's we're split up a couple different ways. So there's a junior class. So if you're below 16 years old, you're in the junior class, and you're in a separate class. There's a women's class. There's a multi-rider class, so like tandems and however many people you want to get on a bike. We have a class. We have a stock class, and stock just means there's no fairings on the bike. There's no aerodynamic aids. We've got a separate class for front or rear tail fairing, so that's just like a partial fairing class. And then there's two more classes. One is for like velomobiles, which have they're mostly faired, except you have to be able to stand up in the bike without it falling over. So either that means you have holes in the bottom of a two-wheel bike, or you have a three-wheel velomobile. And then finally, there's the super stock, or the super whatever it is, the
super street,
whatever we're calling it these days, which is the full streamliner, which pretty much anything goes, except for you have to be able to see out the thing, and you have to be able to see behind you.
That's super street, right? Is that what that is?
No, that's the super mod, or the streamliner class.
Yeah.
Okay, that's streamliner. Okay.
Yeah, we've changed the names and categories over the years, but we do everything to like be fair. Basically we know that the full streamliner bike is going to be faster, and they will typically race by themselves during event, like if it's a 1 hour time trial. And then so the important thing we want to say is, even though we may have different classes of bikes on the track at the same time, you're really only competing against people in your class. Like when we award prizes at the end of the event, we're only judging the streetliner class versus the other streetliners, or the trikes versus the other trikes.
Yeah, trike class.
Yeah,
and the trike class, of course. All right. And Mike says, I like the idea of the transponders for the races. Yeah, I think that's a really cool technology that they've been using for a while.
Oh, well, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of the questions of making decisions about who's first, second, and third out of it, and how long it took, right? So, all right. And did you mention the junior category as well? You saw a couple of pictures there. So that's always exciting, because that's kind of the future of racing for you guys. So I know you try to encourage that. We'll talk about that.
Get out there too and see how fast they can go. And kids, they seem to be just so full of energy. They just, you wouldn't think that a little kid like that would be able to do the whole race, but they're out there, pedaling like crazy. And we've had kids 5 years old on little tiny bikes, out there riding, and it's great for like the whole family.
Yep. All right. So, and you kind of mentioned early on, Warren, and I know you want to pursue this a little further, about, this is a grouping of like-minded friends is what it turns out to be. So talk if you would, for a bit, and Mike, you can chime in here too, about the feeling, the social aspects of racing and HPRA. And then we'll talk a little bit about the social media part of it. But first, let's talk about just the social aspect, not the social media.
Sure. Like Mike was saying, we have many events. We used to have more, but I think we're down to 3 now. And there's a core group of people that just goes to all the events. Maybe 10 people, and it's fun to see everybody and see what they're doing, see what new vehicles they've purchased or built or modified. And then at each race, there's people from that area that maybe just raced the one race, and everybody comes together and talks about the bikes and what works and what doesn't work, and what they feel makes them go faster, and just all kinds of that kind of thing. We have people bring food to the races. We go usually after the races. We have a group dinner, and we can chat more. It's just it's a social and a racing kind of thing. It's just a nice
a fun type of events to attend, right? So,
Yeah.
all right, now go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. One big thing. So we asked ourselves at the beginning of the show, why do we race? And a simple answer to that is, if you're going to the same event year after year, and you remember what your result was from the previous year, you kind of like push yourself to improve yourself each year, whether it's more training, or you show up with a better bike or better design. So like for instance, for me, I remember all the way back when I was 14 years old, I remember I pedaled my bike 18 miles around the Waterford track, and that was during like a 1 hour time trial. Nowadays I'm doing 25 miles in 1 hour. So that's one of the big benefits of racing is, if you compete in the same event year after year, kind of like running a 5K and road running, or if you're ambitious enough, you run a marathon, you remember what your times and your speeds were, and you seek to improve them. And then one of the benefits of the website that we have that Warren maintains is you can go back and look at your old race results. You could go back to 2002 if you want, and say, oh hey, how did I do at Northbrook that year? What was my fastest speed in the sprint? Or so that's a big benefit of racing. So
yeah, let's jump over to Warren, because this is his baby, actually. So recumbents.com, it's been around for a while. Tell us the story quickly, anyways, of the background of recumbents.com and what it has to do with HPRA.
Sure. I originally started it back in 1998, I think. We were doing, I had just gotten into the racing, and a pet peeve I had was that nobody knew how they did afterwards. So, they wrote down what the results were, and prizes were given out at the end of the day, but there was really no record of how people did. And I thought that it would be really beneficial, for people to know how they did, and, how they placed, even if they weren't, first, second, or third. And, to have some kind of record over the years of how they were doing. So, I started this, the Whistle website, the Wisconsin, Illinois website, which was our recumbent organization here in the Midwest, and started putting the results on it. And it was sometimes very difficult to get the results from the racing directors. So that was always fun. But eventually the results did make it up there, and I'm happy that I've been able to support it for as long as I have.
And so now you have both you store all the information of the races and such. You also have, it's also a major bulletin board type of setup where moderated conversations can be had as well about various things, including HPRA. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a web forum on the site too, and you can talk about a variety of subjects, recumbent related, pretty much anything recumbent related. There's a racing section, there's a building section, there's a general section, and the sections that get the most traffic are the building and racing ones, because the site is kind of building and racing oriented. Okay,
and we're going to talk about both those things as regards HPRA as well in a little bit here. Let's go. There's a couple of comments and questions here. Okay, BJ wants to know, if you have e-assist, can you just turn it off and still race? What's the deal with that?
Sure.
Thus far we haven't had folks like who are solely e-assist racers, but if we had enough people show up with e-assist, we would more than likely create a new category just for e-assist. If you wanted to leave it on, by all means leave it on. I would say if it was left on, you would have to be racing in a e-assist only category. But if it's off and you want to take like the weight penalty, say climbing the hill, then you would race in the stock class.
So now that's interesting, Mike. So of course you would turn it off and then it would just be a weight penalty. But yeah, I've never really heard or thought too much about racing e-assisted they are still HPVs, but they're e-assisted. Right. So now this is a much different category because this has as much to do with the power of your motor as it does to do with the power of your pedaling, right? I mean, so that's a whole different kind of hybrid category. What are you thinking about that?
One of the benefits at our races is you can, like say instance, like say in the sprint event over 200 meters, if you wanted to make one run with the e-assist on and then you want to make another run with the e-assist off, you would get times and speeds for both, and you can see basically what a difference that e-assist makes. I mean, that's a big part of our group, is trying out innovations and seeing what does make a difference. And I guess it would be up to the scorekeepers at the time to select which run was the faster, or do we include the e-assist or do we not. But I mean, right. a lot of the college teams make runs where they change equipment.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Warren. What's your idea on this?
We don't currently have an e-assist class, and I don't know if our insurance would cover it currently. We'd have to talk to Garrie about that to see, if that's something that they would be able to allow. But, I'm all for it. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, that's certainly an interesting idea. I think that speaks to the adaptability and the openness of your organization, because we've talked about various other biking organizations that are a little bit more strict as to the requirements, even to the point where they may not even allow things like recumbent bikes. So really a different kind of look at how an organization can be open to new ideas. I think that's awesome. Let's see, we have got Arnold Lichtvoet, our pal in Holland, saying hello to Mike and me. Hello, Arnold. There's an amazing racing guy and a guy that knows a lot about racing, including everything from the World Championships in Europe to Battle Mountain here in the USA. So, Arnold, glad you're watching. It's glad to have you here. And let's see. Not sure what this. I know people who Mike Smith says who rode in marathon fundraisers that wrote distances on shirts that they wore each year. I guess maybe just keeping track. You were talking earlier about remembering your previous year's accomplishments. So maybe that's what that was about. And Eric Penn says you would need to remove the battery if they run in stock. Well, we'll put him on the rules committee. Then
disable it somehow. We'd have to be sure that they weren't actually using it, right?
All right, Eric, thanks for that. Okay, guys, let's. So we've talked a little bit now about building your own, and of course, people can bring what they own and have bought as well. So this whole home built versus commercial aspect of racing is an important part of your history and what's going on right now. So, Mike, why don't you start out, if you would, and talk to us about the history of home-built vehicles at your races, and then bring it on up to date. And then, Warren, we'll talk to you about it as well.
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, one of the biggest reasons for forming our own race group was, folks who had a home-built machine, if they showed up at a UCI event, the commissioner or whoever's in charge would probably look at that and say, well, I don't know if I could let you race that. But if you come to a HPRA event with similar like-minded people, everyone's willing to let you race and see what you have. Back in the 1980s, there weren't really many true racing recumbents being built by commercial manufacturers. We had a lot of folks with like Tour Easies with like frontal fairings and windsock fairings, and they did go fast, but it wasn't really until like the European manufacturers like M5, Challenge, Optima, all the folks over in the Netherlands, when they started developing kind of a more sleek low racer format, really designed to make a small hole through the wind. That's when we saw the beginning of really good commercial recumbents, and then that spread over back to the U.S. We have a lot of great commercial manufacturers now. We have Cruise Bike, we have a Catrike, we have a lot of homegrown talent. And so in the early days, like folks like Warren and other folks in the Chicago area, they had their own skunk works, basically. I know which was Bill Murphy's basement, and nice guy who unfortunately passed away at one of our events of a heart attack. But he got people together. Everyone was building stuff. They were blowing wind bubbles and making frames, trying out different ideas, and they brought all of these to the Northbrook track and to the other HPRA events. We had folks like Sean Costin, who was super strong, and he even raced. He started racing here. He went over to Europe one year for the Worlds, and he had a bike called the Monkey Hand, which was like a tube over the top of his shoulder and a carbon fiber boom, and just a very, very fast design. But so yes, the group was founded as mainly a place for home builders to race their designs, but then as the rest of the commercial market caught up to the designs and developed their own speed designs, it's much easier nowadays for someone to go purchase a commercial recumbent and race it. But like for instance, I'm racing the
we had a couple of pictures here we wanted to illustrate this point. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is David Summerfield. He's about 20 years old. I believe now. He's from Iowa. So he built a kind of a front wheel drive cruise bike type of design, and he's a magnificent young guy who really knows his stuff. He's built and designed all this himself. He also has a new mid racer with a really laid back seat design that he's working on. So it's this is from a couple years ago at the Iowa races at the Hawkeye Downs half-mile speedway. We have folks like David bringing their designs out to the events, and doing really well against the older crowd and the people who've had their commercial built recumbents or their own home built recumbents.
All right, and then next shot, please, Trey. And then speaking of which, so now what do we have?
Yeah, this is Daryl Hanger on a cruise bike. I don't know if that's the Vendetta model or the Silvio, but yeah, he's, and then just behind him to the left is a girl in the blue jersey. That's Amanda Chu from University of Toronto. Her and her husband started an ASME competition, and then they built their own carbon fiber low racer. Then the guy in the red just above her, it's John Burrell from Chicago. He's racing a John Mersiglio M1 recumbent, very similar to the one that I race, and pretty much that field is a good mix of home built and commercial bikes.
Very nice. All right, let's jump back here. I've got a couple of comments, if we can. So Johnny Rawls, my wife and I raced at Brian Piccolo Park, Florida in 2015. It felt more like a festival than a race. What a great friendly time that was. And I think that speaks to what you guys were talking about. Thank you, Johnny, for that comment.
We were there in 2015. I believe Warren and I were, we were both there.
So you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. It's always amazing to go from the cold winter, up north.
That's a good time to go race in Florida.
Up there, and the weather was it's always perfect, and the tracks are nice, and the people were good, and it's just always an amazing fun time.
There is Daryl checking in. Yes, it is a Vendetta. So thank you, Daryl, for clarifying that. Mike asks, are there any restrictions on building materials? So back to the inspection thing.
No restrictions. Just has to have, no sharp edges. I myself in ASME competition, we built a frame out of square aluminum tubing, and I crashed on a corner and came down on the edge of that square aluminum tubing and hurt myself. So I've learned that maybe that type of design isn't, always the safest. So that's something I might look for as a tech inspector. I'd ask the person, well, if you fell on this, would this hurt?
Yep.
But other than that,
no sharp edges. It has to have 2 brakes, and beyond that, if your seat's falling off, we may say something.
But it's all common sense kind of stuff. It sounds like. So, all right, great. Let's talk now, if we can, about something you mentioned earlier. This has to do with the social aspect, and that is sharing. So besides the people helping each other out with equipment and that sort of thing, there's also the kind of sharing of ideas, and it's a bit of a stirred pot of ideas that sometimes ends up coming out in other people's developments that are raced elsewhere. So let's talk a little bit about that. Here's a shot of people looking on. Mike, that's you, isn't it? So tell us about how that goes. You have something to show. How are these ideas shared, and how does that work?
Well, basically there is a lot of downtime during our events. I mean, when we do like a group event where we have maybe 10, 15 people on the track at one time, of course, people aren't going to have a lot of time to look at each other's designs. But when we're running like the individual events, like the standing start sprints where we go one at a time, there may be a hour or two where the rest of the folks are just gathered on the infield waiting their turn. So we're all walking around under each other's tents and looking at each other's bikes. So you get a lot of ideas. You get to see others' designs up close. You may have only seen the bike in a photo on the web forum prior to this. I mean, someone might say, "Hey, I'm building this great bike." But if you see someone's handlebars up close, you can even jump on their bike, try their handlebars. If it's like a narrow grip, you want to try out like what we call the gunfighter position. If you want to see if that works for you, then you can take that back and incorporate that in your own bike design. You may show up the next year with something similar. Like few of the things that I've seen on other people's stuff, whether it's their bike or their personal equipment, such as helmets or mirrors, is I've gotten ideas and I've asked them, "Hey, where did you get that?" And like for instance, I have these hand mirrors, which everyone's supposed to be wearing a mirror so that you can see rearward. And one guy, Rick Gritters from Iowa, he had this. This is a snowmobile glove mirror. It's sold at a local shop here in Michigan, actually, where one of the places that I found it. And it's a really great design with a Velcro adjustable strap, and actually have it on upside down. So, when I'm wearing it, I can move around to always get a good view of who's ever behind me. And I use this during my like regular riding on the road. And just when I'm training with my recumbent at the local park. And then we had somebody said this was the most aerodynamic helmet out there. It's made for paragliding, actually, and it's kind of big and heavy, but it's a little bit too hot to wear on a very hot day. But this is something else that somebody at the races said that they liked, and I ended up getting it. And if you go on Warren's site, on the recumbent.com site, we have a lot of great instructions for making your own. Well, this is a covering for a chainring reel. It's something I just made using like laminated cardboard. I took this to Kinko's, glued it on. My crank arm comes through here. But these are all ideas that I seen somebody else using at the events, and ended up trying it out myself. So Yeah, that's one of the biggest benefits of, just having a gathering pot of folks all in one spot.
And Mike, how about commercial products that people try out there specifically? You were talking to me earlier about maybe looking for some sponsorship opportunities with regards some commercial manufacturers of componentry or whatever. Tell us about what your ideas are there.
Right. Like, say for instance, someone's interested in a cruise bike, and they, before buying, they want to try it. Now, if at any one of our events, we may have 3 or 4 people on a cruise bike show up. So if you're, say, in the Chicago area, and Cruise Bike themselves could say, hey, there's an event coming up in Northbrook Velodrome in a few weeks. You can go there, try out a cruise bike from one of the local owners. And, if that person, gets to try it, they're more than likely gonna buy it if they like it. So, so basically what I'm saying is the stuff you're not going to find maybe at your local bike store, you could show up at one of our HPRA events, and people are more than willing to let you try their recumbent. So it's an opportunity for commercial recumbent manufacturers, whether it's whether it's Catrike, anyone. If you can go there and usually try that at one of the events. So that's the commercial opportunity.
So hopefully maybe we'll get some of those manufacturers to contact you guys and see about sponsoring some races. Now, let's jump into the questions again. Trey has been asking this, and he wants to know, so we're talking about future events, which we kind of touched on before. You mentioned Florida, so that's southern, but he probably in Mississippi doesn't consider Florida southern. So what about, have you guys seen or heard of racing events in the southern U.S.?
Well, we're always looking for new events, and basically, if there's a person, not naming any names, Troy, but if you want to have a race, then you may become a race director, and you can, if you have a closed course in mind, chances are that a bunch of people from the north will come down and race at your event, and you can get HPRA insurance for the event, and it's pretty easy to set up the event. All you have to do is work with the track, and do a little bit of advertising to get people to come.
And you guys are happy to talk at length with these folks, yeah. and I think we're gonna finish up with this, so let's not get too deep in the weeds with this future event thing, but yeah, of course it's important. And one of the most important reasons you guys are on the show today is to talk about this so that people get interested, and perhaps we can expand the awareness and actually get some more racing out there. So very important feature. But let's, if we can, let's move along here. We will get back to that. I think maybe this is a good point, Mike, to talk a little bit about Garrie Hill. And folks, you know that I had promoted the show and talked about Garrie Hill coming on, and unfortunately he wasn't able to join us today. But if you could, Mike, tell the folks who Garrie Hill is and what some of his contributions to all this are.
Yeah, we know Garrie Hill as the director of the HPRA. He's kind of been the organizer behind the scenes. Currently, he's handling our insurances, which we need for each event. Garrie's been a longtime benefactor of the whole recumbent movement. He's helped run Battle Mountain one year. He's been involved in many other events. He has he has a small collection of trikes and recumbents that he lends out to people at the various events. He usually shows up with a large sprinter van, and if anyone wants to try a trike, he usually just lets them borrow it and go for it in the different events. He's not worried about them crashing or breaking his stuff or his rides. So Garrie's a great guy to get to know. We're sorry he couldn't make it on the show today, but he also manufactures a lot of stuff at his factory. He's manufactured carbon fiber seats, carbon fiber headrests, wheel covers. He runs a mold making factory in Ohio, and does like U.S. military ballistic helmets and so forth. He also has quite a lot of recumbent molds, and they're like different fairings, different shells that he's collected over the years. He used to make Varney shells for people to actually build their own streamliner. And a big part of what he's been trying over the years is to get to the point where he can just stamp out some shells and designs and have, say, five or 10 people racing a similar type of streamliner at the event, because that's really the last big part of the market that we're missing in the U.S. and perhaps the world. Is we don't have a commercial manufacturer of a complete streamlined shell fairing. And of course, you have to have like one size fits all. That's not easy to do. You really there's space is so constricted within the streamliner, but that's one of the things that Garrie's been working on.
Okay, good. So right, we hope eventually to have Garrie on the show to talk about some of the things that he does. He is an important part of the recumbent scene, and of course, more specifically, go ahead, Warren.
Behind the scenes for the most part, but
yeah, especially today, unfortunately. Yeah. So great. All right, so people come to these races and have come over the years. They've come up with interesting ideas. They've raced. They've gotten faster. And some of them have decided to actually go on to some, I don't know if I would say more prestigious, but other advanced racing venues as well. Warren, can you tell us about where some of these people that you have met and worked with have gone on to race?
Sure. So I guess the most prestigious have been the University of Toronto folks. There have been a couple of those guys, Cameron and
Todd Reichert.
They're both very fast racers. They built a lot of fairings, and they went to Battle Mountain. Todd is currently the fastest man in the world. He broke records out there. He built a human-powered helicopter, and or he powered the human-powered helicopter to a record there. And they're now both working at a company in California where they're building electric vehicles. Like
for street use kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, no, they're flying vehicles. So it's like a drone with a human in it, and so they're using their aerospace knowledge to create those.
Right. Cool. Well, I'm glad we single-shotted Warren there to talk, and it gave Mike the opportunity to do a quick wardrobe change. Very nice. Yeah. Turn around, Mike. Do you have something? Don't knock your mic off, but I think the folks can see. Team Lowboy.
Yeah.
There we go. Just showing off some of the swag, right? Or actually, you probably actually had to pay for that. All right. A quick question from Ron Stout. How do velomobiles do in your events in general? Mike, can you talk to that? Mike, you're muted.
Hi, sorry. Velomobiles usually do really well. I've heard different things, like where they've said they've actually gone too fast to take the turns on some of our courses like Waterford, they say they wish there was a little bit more banking, so when they had their 3 wheels, they could stick to the corners. But in general, they're up there with the speed of some of the 2-wheeled streamliners. Yeah, I mean, they're able to handle the velodrome banking as well. We even had them on the 50-degree banking here in Detroit at the Lexus Velodrome, which was a non-HPRA event, but we had some of the local velomobiles out there, and they managed to handle 50-degree banking. So
good. And how about Ed Miller wants to know about solar involvement? So we talked about other sorts of like e-assist. So what about other sorts of technologies like solar powered e-assist? I'm guessing you haven't seen that, but you would be open to some sort of testing of that as well, guys?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my guess there. So, all right, guys, let's move along here. At the event, Mike, you've talked about, and Warren, you kind of mentioned it early on about how these events go in terms of where people stay and the group meals. You said the restaurants, that kind of thing. So people stay in hotels. They kind of group together. And they also camp in the infield type of thing as well. Let's pop those. Yeah, thank you, Denny and Trey. So yeah, so you talk about a tent city. What is the tent city at these races?
Usually it's a gathering of all those canopies stacked side by side, because as we know, the sun moves throughout the day, so you're typically getting shade from your neighbor's canopy rather than your own. But yeah, this is one of the smaller gatherings just on the infield. But yeah, we used to call it like the traveling circus at times, because we'll have everyone bring out their tents and then pack it up, and then like if we're going to a different event the next day, which we do at Northbrook and Kenosha. Northbrook is in the northern Chicago suburbs, and we race there on a Saturday. But then on Sunday morning, everyone gets up and drives 40 miles north to the Kenosha Velodrome, and we do the same. We do similar events there too on the second day. Yeah, and people are gathered throughout the day. Like Warren said, we have folks bringing cookies, and everyone's sharing drinks from the coolers, and just talking about bikes and racing all day. And there is like a core group of regular racers, and then there's a lot of newcomers at different events, or a lot of local folks who may only do that event in their area. So yeah, it's a great way to grow the sport, and
let's encourage more people to come for these reasons. So what do you need to bring? Probably some sort of tent type of thing, tools. You talked about mirrors, helmets. Let's get to the money aspect. You briefly touched on this. So what do you figure? You talked about the entrance fees, but if you're going to have enough money to cover, say, the weekend, what do you need, Mike?
Yeah, probably about. It really depends. If you're racing more than one category, we might charge you a little bit more. Like some folks have raced like a streamliner, a stock bike, and a trike bike, but it's anywhere from like $25 for one day to maybe $40 for the weekend. But it's really at the race director's discretion. I mean, we're a nonprofit 401c outfit, so we're not looking to make money, but we do have to pay anywhere from $300 to $600 for a track rental fee, plus our insurance fees, plus there's a nominal fee to maintain our transponder system. So if we take in $600, $800 and we're spending whatever $500 or $600 ourselves for the weekend, we're going to have $100+ left over. So what we do with the leftover money is we distribute it as a prize money. And usually sometimes folks like Garrie will step in and contribute to the prize fund. So we try to make it fun. You might walk away with a $20, $25 first place prize, or $15, $20 for second place. And we as we joke, you get just enough gas money to make it back home, basically, if you win at our events. If you drove 150 miles there and you make $15, well, that's your gas money to go.
Yeah,
go back.
clearly it's not about the money, but it's still nice to have a price. All right, let's kind of begin to wrap this up. I do have a couple of questions about velodromes. So Leo is asking, are there many velodromes in the U.S.? I don't know if that was your question. Oh yeah, that was your early one too, Leo. So do you know of any velodromes that are being constructed, or what the status of the velodrome numbers are in the U.S.?
I kind of know the answer. There's about 20 velodromes active. There's only 3 indoor velodromes. One is here in Detroit, one in Carson, California, and the other one in Colorado Springs, which is covered. It used to be outdoor, but now it's an air inflated dome like the one here in Detroit. A lot of them have local junior track racing programs. You can become track certified. We're always looking to add other velodromes to possibly use or have an event at, but I'm not sure if that answers the whole question, but yeah, there's a lot of details online about the different tracks out there.
Okay, very good. All right, let's bring it up to date. So obviously the issues with the coronavirus have severely impacted your events like they have so many other events. So let's talk about what we do know. So tell us, Mike, if you would, what events are available coming up now that people can race at.
The COVID-19 has caused cancellation of our Waterford event. We're still up in the air about the Northbrook Kenosha event this year. We do have the Iowa Hawkeye Downs event on the schedule for this September. What you can race in now this year is there's at least two major events. One is the Cruise Bike weekly time trial series. Basically, you race a local course of your own choosing. You create a 12-mile segment in Strava, or you can use someone else's 12-mile segment. It can be an out and back course. It can be a loop course. Basically, you want to start and finish at the same spot to cancel out any elevation changes. This is managed by Larry Oslin, a longtime supporter. He's a ultramarathon cyclist. So what you do is you submit your results each week to Larry, and he kind of tabulates the results. There's basically the goal of it is personal improvement. So you're gonna see he's gonna figure out how much you're improving each week. He gives you like percentage points based on how much you've bettered your personal best. And then Jim and Maria Parker are also sponsoring prizes overall for like the highest average speed, the biggest improvement, the highest average wattage, highest average heart rate, etc. I think there's like 10 prize categories. So it's about I think there's like 60 people competing in it currently. This is second year that it's been sponsored by a cruise bike. So that's one great event. I'm doing it at one of my local parks. And then the second event I just learned about from Tom Ollinger is the Blue Streak time trial series at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base down in Dayton, Ohio. Basically, you ride 10 miles around the infield roads, and from what I hear, it's a pretty wide, fast course. They did some repaving at the base. I think the event was actually shut down for a few years due to like security concerns, but Tom Ollinger holds the overall course record in the Streamliner, doing like 35 mile per hour average. Yeah, that's even with taking 90-degree turns. That's something I'm going to do this Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night once a month down in Dayton, Ohio, and you have to register like 6 days in advance with your driver's license number. It's just for like security concerns because you're going on the base. And then a third event I just learned about is at the Waterford track where we usually race. That is there's a local road cycling club that usually uses that track for their weekly training sessions, and they used to have mass start group races, but due to the COVID-19 outbreak, they're not allowing mass start races at the track. However, they are allowing individual time trials. So we have the option to do like a 7-mile time trial or even a 12, 15, 20 mile 1 hour time trial. at the track, and they have a similar transponder system to what we have. And I've done that event before with John Merciglio when John lived right there in Waterford, and it's a fun event as well. So
Okay.
I'm gonna get more information about that.
Yeah, we're going to put the links to all 3 of those events in the description below for you guys to check out. Donald wants to know what this group is called. I assume you mean HPRA, Human Powered Race America, right? I assume that's what you're talking about, Donald. So, and also, you guys aren't involved specifically, but I've been in touch again with Jane Knight, who is all over the Arkansas Senior Games and Senior Games around the country, and she's been a contributor to the show before. And the Arkansas Senior Games have welcomed with open arms recumbent racers in that event, and it's getting bigger every year. Doug, I see you're away from your desk now. If you can get back, maybe you can add something to this. But I will tell you that the guy who runs the Arkansas Senior Games has been interested in talking to us about what he views the importance of recumbents there are. Here's Doug. Can you bring Doug into the conversation?
Sorry about that. I was changing
No,
a flat tire like I do almost every hour of every day.
That's fine. I was just telling the folks that I've heard from Jane Knight again about the Arkansas Senior Games and the gentleman who runs it, Greg, I think.
Greg, right.
And could you just give me your quick elevator speech about what the recumbent racing is like? Because you were just there at the Arkansas Senior Games.
So, well, the Texas Senior Games, the Arkansas Senior Games, several of these senior games are now doing the same thing, and they bring recumbents in as basically another group stage, just like the road bikes. So they're kind of treating them very similar. So on the individual time trials, they treated us exactly the same. In fact, they spaced us intermingled with the regular standard upright bikes, and then on the road race, they had kind of learned from the performance of some of these recumbent guys are a little bit faster than what they were expecting. So they reorganized and let us launch first because they knew we'd be right on top of the pace group, and so they both formats have been great. They're a little different. Arkansas was actually done on an open road in one of the parks, so you had to intermingle with traffic and things like that, but it was well managed and well handled. The Texas games were done at Texas Motor Speedway on an apron that's on the outside. It's a circular parking lot that was marshaled and it was closed off. Okay. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So we're going to keep it. Go ahead, Warren.
United States. There are local racing organizations that are meant for upright bikes, but they do time trials, and usually it's the time trials that they'll let recumbents in. So check with your local racing organizations. You may have to ask several times. Persistence is good.
Yes.
And, they generally will let you in if you're persistent, and it's always a good time racing against those guys.
Well, one of the things I've found is pointing to other places that they've been allowed.
Right.
It's a little bit of a domino thing. We had a lot of trouble with some of the local racers having recumbents in them here until these, the Texas Senior Games did it, and then Bessie's Creek did it, then another one, and now it's almost become a norm. But it's taken kind of this domino thing to get everybody on board.
Because those upright racing organizations are experiencing, loss in people too. So they're starting to think, gee, maybe it's a good idea to have these weird bikes in with them.
And we're hoping to increase the awareness on that as well, so that we can get more of these races open to racing recumbents. And of course, Doug has been involved with that for a while as well. So we'll keep on that. But let's finish up, guys, if we could. Thank you, Doug, with your vision for the future, for future events. And this is kind of what we've been talking about here for the last little while anyways. But let's put it this way. So people watch the show, they're excited. They want to see about sponsoring or starting a racing event in their area. And they can contact you guys. What are you going to tell them? What do they have to do? What's involved?
Basically most of it's right here. The most important thing is to have our racers insurance, which Garrie Hill manages. Beyond that, we ask that you bring water to the event, first aid kit, just the basic things of what people would need, whether it's a picnic event, outdoor event, like do you have bathrooms nearby? We're fortunate to have like even a shower facility at our Waterford track. There's going to be practical things like we need cones, we need a lap counter, we need to get the timing system to you. Flags for the we have checkered flags, we have yellow, green, black, yellow, white flags, and so forth. So putting on an event is probably not as much work as you would think, especially when you have people who show up. And this is all a volunteer organization, so we're the folks who've been at one event, if we come to your event, we're going to help you run the timing system. We're going to help you, manage the flags and start finish. And
very important point, Mike, and that's really what I wanted to emphasize. So, first step for a lot of these people, once they've seen the show or do some reading about this, contact you. I would say would be a jumping off point. Yes, you're happy to help anybody.
Right. Yep.
And we'll have Mike's contact information then in the description as well. So I think with that, we're going to kind of finish it off here. Any final thoughts, Warren? Thank you.
Not prepared for final thoughts. Just everybody have fun riding and go fast. And if you're never going to go fast until you go fast. So push yourself, have fun. Well, I hope to see you out there on the track.
Thank you. And Mike, final thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, final thoughts. We call this racing, but it really isn't racing. It's really fun. It's go as fast as you want to go. You're allowed to do the sprints, more than once if you want, and just try out things. And it's really a big, social aspect. That's probably the most important thing is the social aspect, getting together. So
race fast, make friends.
Right.
Exactly.
Is that it? All right. Mike Mowett and Warren Beauchamp, thank you guys so much. Always a pleasure talking to both of you. I learned so much talking to you. So you guys take care. We will talk again soon. So, all right, guys, I think at this point it's time to move along. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we're going to have Mike Egeland. We're going to have Mark Egeland on. He goes by many names, but Mike's not one of them. And I hope you'll put the questions you might have for Mark in the live chat, and we will ask him about those. But let's go ahead. Can you bring Mark up so I can apologize? Oh, hello, Mark. Mark, I think you're muted. Maybe here. We can't hear you. If you wouldn't have been able to hear me, you wouldn't have heard my mistake, but we can't even hear you. So nope, I can't hear you. You want to maybe just unplug that and plug it back in, or might not have been plugged in. There we go. Do we have Larry ready to go just in case? And maybe let's make sure, Mark, it does say muted. Can you, you are muted. Now talk to me. Now, see, that's not making any difference. You see, we set this all up ahead of time and it still doesn't work. All right. Look on the StreamYard on your screen and go to audio, go to settings and audio and see if your headset is selected like it was before. And I'm going to go ahead. Larry, if you're ready to go, I'm going to go to you. We'll go with your segment. Mark, I'm going to leave you on stage, and then you can keep trying stuff, and then we'll hear you. Then as soon as you come on, and we'll come back to you. So, all right. So let's jump to Larry Varney, who's going to talk to us a little bit about a couple of a bike and a trike, I guess is what I should say. Larry, how you doing, pal?
Pretty good.
Good.
Let me move my mic.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm not going to pull a Mark on you.
Yeah, right. We won't call it that. All right. Yeah. So let's start out with the first thing. You just recently published a review in Bent Rider, did you not?
Right. Of the 80 Carson's recycled recumbents. Back in, it's either 2013 or 14, I was one of the SAG support people on one of Bubba Barron's cross-country rides, and A.D. Carson was there, and he was riding a yellow Mach 2, and you couldn't help but notice that every day he was the first, or pretty close to being the first rider in every day. It was nice and fast. He let me sit on it and so on, and I thought, boy, I'd like to have one of these. So anyway, once the ride was over in May or something like that, I made arrangements to get one. So I've had the thing for about 6 years, and finally got around to writing more or less my current assessment of it. And it all comes down to basically, if you would like to try a long wheelbase recumbent, and right now they don't make Tour Easies or Gold Rushes anymore. Give the Recycled Recumbent Mach 2, and I think they've got a Mach 3 out now too. Give them a good look, because the prices are relatively inexpensive. They're comfortable. They're fast.
They're recycled, for gosh sake.
Yeah, I mean, he's like Dr. Frankenstein of recumbents. He gets, like junk bicycles that aren't good anymore, and somehow or another, I've never actually been in the laboratory, he's able to cut various pieces out and weld them together, and voila, there he's got a Mach 2. And you can get different price points based on what sort of componentry you have. Me being cheap, I told him back when I got mine, I just want to have the riding experience cheaply. So I've got, like, I think it's a 21 speed with twist grips, shifter, and rim brakes. If I were to get it today, I would definitely get some more upgraded. I'd probably get disc brakes and at least a 3x9 or something else.
All right, Larry, we're going to take a look at the pictures and go through that. Let me just 1 second. I think we do have Mark back. I just want to test him out. Let me bring Mark up for me, will you please, Denny? I'm sorry. I was messing with it. Mark, are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me now, Garrie?
Yeah, you're good to go. Would you mind hanging on for a little bit? We'll finish with Larry and come right back.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Okay, go ahead and put Mark back, and we will continue with the with me, Larry. Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'm continuing with. I'm just glad I'm continuing because I wasn't doing it. Go ahead.
And there's two of me. That on the left there is, I'm standing there with my Mach 2, and green is definitely my favorite color. But then, since seeing the hyper yellow, the Catrike, see, I'll mention Catrike a few times since Mark's listening. They're hyper yellow. I just love even more than green. But anyway, that's me with the Mach 2 over there on the left side of the picture. And on the right side, I'm sitting on something else I'm going to mention today, talking about. I just got it about a week ago. It's the TerraTrike Rambler. And there's another picture of that guy. And one thing you'll notice, there's a couple of straps across the seat. It doesn't come with like elaborate bags or anything. There's a little one hanging behind the seat that's good for putting a couple of tubes in. The seat has a little pocket you can put like your wallet or keys in, but that's about it. So I just happen to have that pair of bags from, I think it was Smoky Mountain saddlebags or something like that, and it worked out really well. So, if you think about buying something like this, think about getting some kind of bag. Now, TerraTrike does have a bag, actually more than one, that straps onto the top of the seat that would enable you to carry a bunch of stuff like, a pump and tubes and so on. So you don't have to have something like I've got there, but I just have to have that in stock. As you can see, that bike or that trike has 3 20-inch wheels. No, 16-inch wheels. What am I?
They're not 16s either, are they? Are they 16s? They're 24s, aren't they?
Oh, 24s. See, I won't say I'm pulling a Mark. No. They're 3 24-inch wheels. And one thing about this trike, you look at it and you think, God, this ain't got to weigh a ton. It really doesn't. It weighs up, and I use the Catrike Expedition as sort of something to compare it to because a lot of people are familiar with the Expedition. It's about 7 pounds heavier than the Expedition. The wheelbase and track and so on are really close to being similar to the Expedition. But the one big difference, though, aside from the wheels, is the seat height. It's about 8 inches higher. So you're going to be way up there off the ground. If you're the kind of person who's having trouble squatting down and getting up and off some of the recumbents, you say, oh, it's too low, I can't do that. This is something to look at. I mean,
let's go on. We have a few shots, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we started actually with the Mach 2. Trey,
Yeah.
are you there, buddy? Yeah,
there it is.
let's start with the Mach 2.
Yeah,
I guess at this point we'll go back to the Mach 2. Let's talk
I
about
can go back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
I can go both ways.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, and you can see that it looks an awful lot like a Tour Easy or something. There's going to be differences and all that, but it, like I said, it rides comfortably. It's stable. I really like it. And one thing about that, in both those pictures, that red bag is like way back. That's an old bag. Same way with that pump there. I've had that pump for a long, long time. And this farm here that's in the background, that's my in-laws' farm over there. And sometimes the horse comes over and looks to see what I'm riding by, but it's a great photo op there. But yeah, we'll go to the next shot. Yeah, and this picture is from a few years ago. The bike itself hasn't changed much. I think I've got a different water bottle I'm using now, but the same red bag. It's just a great bike. If you want to try a long wheelbase recumbent, but you don't want to stick a whole lot of money into it, and you found that it's hard finding Tour Easies and Gold Rushes, nowadays.
Let's be clear, Larry. So for maybe the few people who don't understand what this is about. So Recycled Recumbents, it's A.D. Carson. He's in Milwaukee. He takes upright bike frames that he reclaims and welds them into these long wheelbase recumbent frames. And he's created his own seat as well, which a lot of people rave about. Is that also fair to say?
Oh, yeah. That seat is really great. I mean, from the moment I sat on it on that cross-country trip, I thought, I just thought, I really think I want this. It wasn't until near the end of the ride that we made plans for me to actually get one. But I can't think of anything I don't like about. Okay, type your question to comment now. Also, too, with the AD cars, and I'll mention this too. He also will get other recumbents and stuff traded in or given or whatever, so he can sometimes sell you another kind of recumbent, a regular quote store-bought recumbent. But really, if you got any kind of inkling at all for a long wheelbase recumbent, give this a shot.
Yep, absolutely. And he's got what he calls that is his virtual showroom or something, right? Where he has the other ones. But go ahead.
Now, this place here might be familiar to some people. It's Miranda's off of the Little Miami Bike Trail up in Morrow. Quite often, I like to say I'm riding tomorrow today, just to be funny.
How often do you say that? No, don't tell me.
Every chance I get,
So rooms 360, are they easier to ride than short ones? I assume he means short wheelbase.
Right.
So just quickly tell us the difference between a long wheelbase and a short wheelbase in terms of its riding.
Okay, with their short wheelbase, it's going to be about the distance between the two wheels will be about similar to what you would find on a regular upright bicycle. So the front wheel is not so far out in front of you. It's more or less just below your quote handlebars. And some people find short wheelbase recumbents to be kind of twitchy and everything. I always tell people, give it a shot. Short wheelbase is easier to haul around because obviously they're smaller, but long ones do tend to be more stable, and you can just ride along for hours.
And I guess maybe, Larry, I would add that with a short wheelbase, your feet tend to be up a bit, and a long wheelbase, your feet tend to be lower, and it's very easy to throw those feet down, and it's a very safe, comfortable feeling as far as that goes, especially if you're in traffic and that sort of thing. Plenty of people ride short wheelbases in traffic as well, but it is a little bit easier on a long wheelbase. All right, let's go to the next shot here. And let's finish up with the Rambler. Yeah, let's finish up. Go ahead.
The one thing too, I compared it to the Expedition when it comes to wheelbase and track and so on. Another thing that is different, not just the seat height, but the seat recline. Some people, I've got a friend, my mechanic Walt Smith, he doesn't like anything that's too reclined. I often said that he would sit on a kitchen table if he could strap it onto his trike. But this recline angle on this thing is adjustable from 70 degrees to 40. and you imagine what you call it, the fixed recline angle of an expedition, I believe, is 37 degrees. So, it's really going to strike you as being really different. Just for nothing else, that seat is sitting so high and it doesn't recline as far. It does fit in the back of my Outback just fine, thankfully, because I live in a really hilly area. So the idea of getting out and riding from home just doesn't happen very often, which brings up my one quibble about this particular trike. The price is great. It's like, I don't know, $1,800 or something. But the way it's outfitted, the granny gear is like 23 gear inches. And I've got some steep hills around here, and 23 maybe would be okay if I was 23 years old, but not anymore. So I would want something with a better granny than that. Now, it turns out TerraTrike does make a very similar trike called the all-terrain trike. And it's got 2 chain rings up front, where this one only has 1. And its granny is like 13 gear inches. So you could almost climb a tree with that thing, but it costs like another $600 or $700. So depends on what you want. I mean, if you aren't in a really steep, hilly area, you wouldn't need that all-terrain vehicle. This would probably work out very good for you. And you can see up front, too, it's got the heel straps that TerraTrike makes. So if you don't want to wear shoes with cleats on them, something like this holds your heels in place so they won't fall off and everything. You can see here that it's not a very wide trike. And that brings up another sort of a quibble. It's not very wide, it's not very long, but it is taller than what you may be used to. And some people say, well, if you're going really fast and you get into a corner, yeah, it's kind of like the balance of something. A trike is thought of as the pyramid. And if it's lower, you're going to be more stable. This is kind of high. So a lot of the weight is up in the air a bit. So you don't want to be going really fast around some steep turns or really sharp turns, because it just might lift those wheels up. And not to carry on too much about turning or anything, but this thing has such a turning circle, not quite as good as some of the Delta trikes I've seen, but so much better than most of the tadpoles. Again, talking about the Catrike expedition that so many of us are familiar with, or should be, because it's one of my favorites, is the turning circle in this thing is about half that of an expedition. It's like, 9 feet or something. It's just like really sharp. But you got to be careful, because it's got such a sharp turning circle that when you turn the wheels, it's not that difficult to have the tire rub your foot, or on the other side, if you're turning right, it could rub against the seat. So, be careful when you're turning really sharp, because you might touch your foot with it. So
good, good advice. Okay.
Yeah, here's a 42 chain ring in the front. That's exciting.
And
the rear end.
There's your cassette in the back.
Yeah, that's 11 by 42, I think, cogs back there. You can see you got lots of ground clearance. You can see some of the mechanism for changing the seat recline is that little metal thing up right above the red reflector. That guy.
There you go. Thank you, Trey.
And it just pops in and out, and you can make the seat go up and down. And
right.
I like playing with to see which I like better, because I could not believe a seat recline of 70 degrees. But, you sit there, it's like you're watching television.
Which, you can do.
Yeah.
All right, Larry, that sounds great. Now, so will you have a review eventually in BentRider then?
Yeah, I expect within the next day or two, probably by tomorrow or something, of actually having the written review published. I'm going to talk in more detail about some of the things, any more quibbles I've got about it, any more raves that I've got, because I really think, one other thing I wanted to mention. I don't like it when people think that recumbents, especially trikes, are only for the handicapped and all that. But if you are one of those people who has trouble getting on and off of the really low trikes, this one might be something to consider. And if you're one of those people that's sort of hovering at the weight limit, some people will see a trike and say, well, the weight limit's 250 or 275 pounds. And you're thinking, you don't want to admit it, but you're pushing the envelope, or the envelope is already broken and you're way over it. According to the website, this has a weight limit of 400 pounds. I mean, if you're having trouble squatting, if you really need to lose a lot of weight, and this is, like I said, a relatively inexpensive trike, I've enjoyed having it around for the past week. So,
okay, very good.
Yeah.
Well, Larry, we look forward to hearing the rest of the story on that Rambler, and thank you so much for sharing the information and that great review on the Mach 2, which is really
I like
AD Carson, one of my favorite people in the industry as well. So, except I know you don't like him. So,
oh no,
anyways, I know you do. I'm just kidding. All right, Larry, I'm going to send you backstage. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, we appreciate it. All right, now I think let me reset my script here. We're going to bring Mark back. Mark Egeland, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Good. Glad you could make it with it. Really, aside from those little early technical aspects of the problems, really glad to have you with us today. Mark, I've been trying to get you on for a long time, so it's great to have you.
It's good to be here.
Let's start out, if we can, with a little history of Catrike.
Yeah, so this year is our 20th anniversary, which is time flies, right? So rewind back to 2000, founder of the company, Paulo Kamasmi, was doing an internship at Detroit. And so he went back to Brazil and told his wife that they're moving to America to live the American dream. So he started the company Catrike. So, slowly but surely started building a very strong brand and making some pretty incredible trikes. So, he had the idea to manufacture out of aluminum instead of chrome moly like a lot of other companies did. And a lot of people told him that wasn't a good idea. And here we are 20 years later.
And how did you come onto the scene, and when did you come onto the scene?
Yeah, so I've been a partner since 2007. I met him, I think, in 2004, actually, at an HPV race. So, yeah, I started, I had a green speed at the time. And then Paulo's like, why do you have that thing? You have to have a Catrike. So he let me borrow one for the weekend, and we became really good friends. And then, he made me his business partner a couple years later.
You're right. A good move, I would have to say. I think most people would agree. So, all right, Mark, we're going to go through some slides here that as you begin to tell us about the amazing manufacturing process that goes on, you guys, as many people in the industry know, manufacture these trikes there in Orlando, Florida, in the USA. And so Trey and I actually paid a visit to you earlier last year, and there we are with our wives. You guys welcomed us nicely, made a nice video of that. I think there's one more shot of that before we get into the actual factory tray. Yeah, well, so you kind of see us setting up there, but this was your design area. So let me just kind of shut up and let you talk about, as we go through these pictures, your manufacturing process.
Yeah, so we do lean manufacturing. That Toyota production system kind of came up with the whole idea. So it's really nice. It's one-piece flow. We get 8 different models down the same line, so it's really flexible. We have, of course, like our Dumont takes 342 minutes to make from beginning to end. And our new Eola we designed for manufacturing and assembly, we have it down to about 120 minutes. So we're putting all these different models down the same line, very high-tech line, and with different takt times with different models. So it's very powerful. And then we do one-piece flow, so we make everything one at a time. So lots of reasons for that. One is that it's a lot more efficient, and the other one, we built all our quality control into our processes. So if you make a mistake on bending a tube or something, you don't batch a whole bunch of them, and you don't have a huge problem to take care of. So there's a lot of positive things there. And then we have, constant improvement. So we're always listening to our employees. Of course, we have a pretty rigorous production, but we're always looking for ways to improve stuff.
Right. And so we've seen here the welding and the painting and some of the assembly process here. It's just beautiful. Your employees are wonderful people that seem to really enjoy working there. I can tell you that from being there. Here's putting together the wheels. You guys build your own wheels there, or you have a machine that builds the wheels, which is really cool. And what else? Trailers kind of, yeah. So anyways, needless to say, we had a great time visiting with you there and learning so much more about the Catrike process and build. So now there is more to Catrike than just the manufacturing process and the sale of trikes. You also promote a number of really important causes, Mark, and host events and promote events with regard to those. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the big one is ride ataxia. So Friedreich's ataxia is a neuromuscular disease that it's a rare disease. So there's a lot of early onset that takes place. And in 2000, I think 7 or 8, I met Kyle Bryant, and he was doing a race across America on a Catrike 700. So we became really good friends, and now has I think 6 ride ataxia events across the country every year. Of course, with this pandemic we're in, it's unfortunate he's doing some virtual events now. So he's still doing some good fundraising. So he kind of single-handedly just raised millions and millions of dollars to, help other people with this rare disease. And it's just really wonderful to see these kids get a Catrike and raise like $30,000 or $40,000 for their own cause. So he does a athletes initiative every year. So we have one coming up in the next couple of weeks. So it's probably about 7 to 10 different people with Friedreich's ataxia that are recipients of either hand cycles or Catrikes. So we're very happy to help him with that every year. And like I said, there's just nothing better than to build a product that changes lives. Absolutely.
Kyle's one of our favorites as well. He's been on the show, wrote an amazing book. If you guys want to go back and watch that show, I would encourage you to do so, and buy Kyle's book as well. It's an incredible story. He's a very brave young man. So, all right, great. Let's, if we can, then go through the line of trikes that you do manufacture there in Orlando, Mark. Can we get the pics up? There we go. And we'll start with the Dumont and we'll go from there. Go ahead and tell us about each of these, if you would.
Sure. So the Dumont was kind of one of our last developments. So we put everything into it. It's folding, full suspension. So we have a patented front suspension that's anti-dive. And it's got a really nice feel to it that it's really sporty. You're kind of in the cockpit instead of like sitting on top of a trike. So it's kind of a do everything Catrike. So if you want to ride some rough terrain or, if you want to do some touring, it's just a really good all around trike that it's just people love this thing. It's $4,100. So we put a lot of value into this trike with some really good components.
Okay.
Yeah, this is our 559. So it's a folding trike with a 26-inch rear wheel. One of our best sellers. It's just something for everybody. It's got a little higher seat, so it's easy to get in and out of. And another good, really good touring trike. So this obviously is my favorite trike. I'll tell you the Expedition's my favorite trike too, but this is the one I ride. It's the Go Fast trike. We just put so much into the design, being as simple as possible. It's a really nice triangulated frame, and we have the 12 millimeter through axle in it now, and our patented piece boom up front has structure in it. So I think it's one of the best power transfer race trikes out there. We're super proud to have that in our line, and it's just cool to see so many different people ride this on long journeys across the country or in the HPV races with Warren and Mike.
I think this question can be answered by what you just said, but is Catrike going to make a faster trike than the 700?
Well, the cool thing, it's a really nice platform. So one thing you can do with all Catrikes is you can buy a rolling chassis. So it's everything you need for the trike, so you can sit on it and roll it down a hill. So you can upgrade the wheels. You can select your own crank arms. gears, components, all the brakes. So people put hydraulic brakes on it, make it super lightweight. So yeah, it's like a really good platform for that. So we like to put it out of the factory as like, you know, a really nice build for the masses. And so that's kind of our concept, to have like one component group throughout our whole line.
Great idea. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, this is the Expedition. So Larry talked about this a little bit earlier in your show. 26-inch rear wheel, space frame, super lightweight, triangulated frame. So a space frame is like just kind of welded all together, non-adjustable. So if it fits you, it's just a really good trike for $2,550. With those component groups, it's really hard to get that kind of value in any other products.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is our trail. So this is a 320-inch wheels, folding as well. And this one has a little lower seating position. So it's a very nimble trike, you know, a really good feel to it. Super stable at high speeds, super stable in the corners. Just another great all-around trike. Yeah, so this is another space frame, our Pocket, obviously our most lightweight trike. So this was designed from the ground up for a smaller person. So we didn't just like, you know, shrink the frame just a little bit. We pay total attention to weight distribution, braking dynamics, center of gravity, all that. So, you know, anyone, you know, in the 5 foot to 5'4", 5'5" height is just a beautiful trike. Another one, we do a lot of the Ride Ataxia Athletes Initiative. A lot of the kids with ataxia choose this trike too. And then this is another one of our best sellers, the Villager. So it has the widest track, the highest seat. So easier to get in and out of. It's just a beautiful trike. The recline adjusts in the back. It's not a folding trike, but it's just a good first trike for anybody really. And, you know, especially if you have some mobility issues getting in and out of it, it's a great trike. And then this was our latest product we launched last year. It's the Catrike Eola. So we designed this specifically for manufacturing and assembly. So we wanted to make a trike for everybody could ride in its simplest form, that we could get through the line very quickly and put a lot of value. So it's under $2,000. We got a single chainring up front, 11x42 speed cassette in the back. So it's a 1x11 drivetrain. We have a little bag behind the seat. Just a single twist shift, so it's just super user-friendly and easy for anybody to ride.
Very nice. And I think that's the last of those. So let's, at this point, let's go to a couple of questions. First of all, let's see. Yeah, our pal Ed Miller, the canopy dude. Will you ever have a front frame-mounted pannier rack like the earlier road rack for the Dumont that's canopy compliant?
Yeah, so right now we're you know, in the middle of this season in our 20th year. We're always doing, you know, perpetual improvements. We try to keep our trikes in the simplest form, to not have a lot of extra brackets and things on it, to keep value for most of the people that are riding our trikes. So at this time we do not, but he is more than welcome to, you know, send his ideas, or maybe we could figure out a way to make some brackets, or have another company make something that will make it compatible on our trike.
All right. Is there a roll-off option on any of the Catrikes?
Yeah, we ship everything out of the factory as one build, other than the rolling chassis that I talked about. So we only offer one component group out of the factory, but of course roll-offs are compatible with all of our products.
Okay, a question about the suspension travel, I guess, in the front on the Dumont. What does it only have? Half an inch? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's more, I think it's more like 3/4 of an inch. So we developed this to be a lightweight suspension to really take the harmonic distortion out of the frame, all the vibrations. I think recumbents in general aren't good off-road trikes because you can't, or vehicles, because you can't really unweight them like a two-wheel bike where you're using your legs to unweight your body and get over everything. So we designed that suspension as lightweight and to, you know, have a real sporty feel and to get all the vibration out of the frame.
All right. And as if on cue, my buddy Larry Hobbs from Jersey Bents wants to know, when can dealers expect to see the Bosch assisted trikes? How much later might we expect to see any retrofit kits? And we're going to talk about that anyway. So tell us about the E-Cats. What's the status of those, Mark?
Yeah, so this week we got everything in. Obviously, a little behind schedule with everything that's going on in the world. So we just got our first shipment from Bosch. One other thing, we have some foam packaging that we're getting in on Monday. So we'll be shipping. The first thing we're going to do is, put these trikes together and have a training session with all of our staff, and then get those trikes to a local dealer that they could, start using them and selling them. And then we're going to roll out our e-Catrikes. So one issue we're having right now is, we went from famine to feast as far as how many sales we had when all this went down. I think we had 20 sales one week. That was really bad. And now it's like we have record sales for the last 6 weeks. So our lead time's up around 3 weeks right now. So I'm trying to figure out, where do we put these e-trikes into, production that's already been sold. So we'll work something out. We're working really hard here. I think with all of this happening, we'll be able to send kits out sooner than we anticipated, because a lot of dealers have their product, and it'll be much easier for us to send kits out than to ship out full trikes.
Okay. And we were going to kind of finish up on the COVID-19 situation, which I think you pretty much covered there. So, talk maybe about the manufacturing aspects of that. Have you had to separate shifts? What have you done these days you've had bigger demand now? You said it's going crazy and all. So how are you coping? What are you doing?
Yeah, so the fortunate thing is we were very prepared this year. We had over 500 Catrikes in stock. We were making 85 a week. So we thought that would, be able to take care of all of our dealers' orders. And then when we launched the E-Cat, we were going to put those on demand. So when this all went down, I think like mid-March, we shut the factory, the whole office, the whole company down for 2 weeks. And then we started coming back, just like one salesperson, the logistics person shipping out trikes, like one engineer in the company, one engineer working from home. So we started out slowly bringing everything back, and then we brought fabrication in one day, and then welding the next day. So we were probably about a third of our manufacturing for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And then the last couple of weeks, we worked really hard to make sure everybody's safe here and doing the right thing. So we're back at full production right now, looking to put maybe 1 or 2 more people on the line to catch up. And the beautiful thing about our system and our manufacturing is, we can just add more operators to get, more trikes out of the factory every day. So working hard towards doing that while keeping the quality high.
All right. Let me add Peter in here. Peter's got, sounds like a little pet peeve. Peter, are you there, buddy? Go ahead and ask your question. I see you put it on.
Hey, Peter, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? It's been a while since you were here. Have to invite you back. So, when we're selling fast trikes, people like to know what they weigh and what they cost. And it seems like if the 700 didn't have a disc brake, it would be cheaper and lighter. So it just seems to me that if I was speccing out a line of 8 trikes, if I was going to put a disc brake as a standard feature on one of them, it would not be that one. That would be one of the touring bikes. But that's just me. What's your opinion?
That's a good question, Peter. And of course, we didn't take any of these decisions lightly. And so it really came down to, if you buy a through axle wheel off the shelf, they all have disc brakes. So our choice was to either make our own wheels here, which we chose not to do. We started out with a zip wheel. Now we're with the FSA Trimax. So all of those have the flanges for the discs. And so we thought that would be a good compromise, or not really a compromise, a good way to have a parking brake on the trike or a drag brake, and then allow our customers to buy any through axle rear wheel off the shelf.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right.
So
Peter?
You are welcome to build your own wheel, Pete, at any spec you want and put it on our trike.
We sell a lot of bikes that have disc compatible wheels and disc mounts on the frame, but no disc brake.
Gotcha.
And the disc is an option, but
sure.
Anyway. Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. See you in a little bit. All right. So let's see. A couple more questions. Is the 700 the rolling chassis you mentioned about 700? Is that on the website there? I guess 3ATGL is not finding that.
Yeah, I think that's in our dealer program at the dealer level. So there's not information on our website, but I'll definitely make a note of that and make sure that's addressed. It's probably in our knowledge section of the website, which is up top. There's a drop down for knowledge, so you might be able to find it there.
The Expedition, does that mean there are lots of options for carrying luggage, racks, bags, etc.?
Yeah, so we have a Catrike specific rack that we ship out. So of course you can use any panniers you want with that. And then we also source a really cool bag that fits in the rear triangle of the trike that's made by Arkell in Canada. So that gives you a lot of different options for bags. And then if you were watching earlier, you saw Larry's, I don't know if they're Mountain Man bags or whatever, made in Tennessee. Those strap over your seat. So yeah, there's plenty of options for different bags. And of course, people can pull trailers with trikes as well.
All right. Are you ever going to sell front suspension as a standalone product? Retrofitting, I guess, or?
Yeah, so the challenge with that is we had to change the camber angle. So it is different than all of our non-suspended front trike, so it's not compatible. If you try to put it on all of them, then you'd have front wheels like pointing inward. So that's something you don't want to do. And we chose those angles to make it anti-sway and anti-dive. And so there was a lot of geometry and engineering that went into making those.
All right. I think that covers it for now. Everybody's saying thank you. So, and that's what I'm going to do. Mark, any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share with us that we haven't covered?
Yeah, it's just crazy times we're living in. One thing that I noticed in my neighborhood, and I'm sure all over the world, is, this pandemic is getting people out riding their bikes. My neighborhood's full of kids riding their bikes, jumping in the lakes, doing everything. So I guess this is what it took to get them off their couch. And I think the whole bike industry is, benefiting at it at the time. A lot of the leaders in the bike industry are saying this is a mini boom. It might be here to stay. So, we got to make sure we get our production going and get everything out there. There's a lot of new trails opening up, a lot of opportunities to just go out and enjoy the outside that we don't have, going to restaurants and football games and all kinds of other things now. So this is our time. Let's go ride our bikes.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing I'm hearing with everyone I talk to. It's very exciting. And I think it holds a lot of promise for people getting out riding whatever they want to ride, but especially the recumbent industry. It'd be nice to see more people on trikes. So obviously, Mark, I thank you so much for taking time out. I know you are incredibly busy, so this was really nice to have you on. You get back to work and crank out some more of those trikes for us, will you?
All right, Gary, I appreciate you and your whole crew, and look forward to seeing more programs coming our way.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you, Mark.
All
right, guys. At this point, let's talk about the wonderful sponsors who make the show available to you guys every week or every month as we do. So let's talk about, first of all, TerraCycle. From fairings to headrests, whatever accessory you need, Pat and crew have you covered. And Trailside.bike. If you find yourself in Florida near the Withlacoochee Trail, stop in to see Andrew and his crew. And Cruise Bike. Their patented, race and record-proven front-wheel drive geometry changes the rules of cycling. Now, comfort doesn't come at the cost of performance, but fair warning, your cheeks may hurt from smiling. And TerraTrike, the host of the virtual Rider Fest. For details, go to TerraTrike.com/RiderFest or the TerraTrike Facebook page. Ride what you like and join us for virtual Rider Fest. And the Hostel Shop. Established in 1974, the Hostel Shop leads the way in providing recumbent bikes and trikes to cyclists across the nation. With over 4 decades of industry knowledge and cycling experience, we're more than just another bike shop. All right, guys, we are going to take next Sunday off, and we will see you again on June 21st at 2 p.m., the regular time, Eastern time. Jan Widgen Wisnen. I'm not sure how to pronounce Jan's last name, but there he is. We had a very nice chat at Spetzi last year. He is the amazing young owner of Velomobile World, and all kinds of interesting stuff going on there, new concepts in manufacturing and marketing. So really look forward to talking to Jan about all of that. And also, we can come on back to me, Denny, if you would. The Bent Expos, I talk to you about those each week. We have shot the Cruise Bike Bent Expo, and I will be editing and putting that out for you in the next couple of days. You should see that. TerraTrike and Haza and Catrike with Mark. We're going to do a Bent Expo with them as well in the coming weeks. So look for those if you can. All right, supporting the Laidback Bike Report, just to reiterate, please like, subscribe, make sure that you click on the little white eye to find out more information at our website. And if you can, become a Patreon patron. So you can see the orange P letters there, and up in that corner there, those are all Patreon patrons, and we would appreciate if you go to patreon.com and you could look up Laidback Bike Report, or look in the link in the description below. We'll have it there. You can contribute to our cause for as little as $1 a month. We would appreciate that if that's something that you're able to do. We appreciate you just watching, so don't worry about it if you can't. So thanks a lot, guys. All right, Danny, could you bring my panelists on at this point? We're going to thank you guys. And bring yourself on, Denny. You deserve a vote of thanks. I know that was not easy for you. If you can. Yep, there we go.
Doug.
Doug, there we go.
And Doug.
And Krusty the cat. There, you know, Trey, I got to say, that's going to probably bring in an extra 1,000 viewers having that on the show, from what I understand. But anyways, guys, great
helping run the slides.
Thanks, Doug and Peter. Thanks for asking and answering some questions for us as panelists. We appreciate that. And Larry, the great reviews. Trey, handling the media as always. And you know, without a doubt, I appreciate Denny, you helping out, jumping in there and helping us out today.
Just doing my duty.
That's you are, making the switch as you do. All right, bring it on back to me, and I'm going to say a final goodbye to everyone. I wanted to thank, speaking of Larry Varney, thank you and Brian Ball at Bent Rider. You can just, there we go, for your promotional support, as you always do. And guys, most of all, thank all of you for watching each month. We really appreciate you tuning in on the Laidback Bike Report. So until our next webcast, from all of us here at the Laidback Bike Report, so long, Bent Riders.